Hi, I'm Ruth Asprey, a women's coach, and in my spare time, I like to take part in endurance sports. That's swimming, cycling, and running, and avoiding leaks, looking for places to go to the toilet.
And I'm Lizzie Evans. I'm a pelvic health physio, and I have recently taken up running and found that I've needed to pee behind a bush a few times.
Oh, and welcome to Oops, I Peed My Pants, the podcast that's here to break the silence, smash the stigma, and get real about female incontinence and pelvic floor health. So, Lizzie, it's a hot Sunday night. I'm sweating. What have you been up to?
I've been melting. Well, actually, I've been melting, working at my computer all day. But yesterday,
Yeah.
yesterday I did my first ever running race. I think race is pushing it a little bit.
It's
I
a race.
wasn't racing.
Did you put a number on?
I did.
Then you race. When you put a number on, you race.
You're racing. Yeah, it was good actually. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. How'd you get on?
I completed it. I'd say that.
Where was it? Tell us more about it.
So it's part of the Xterra series. So it's around Llanberis. Actually, I can't believe I did it. I had a glass of wine with a friend one night, and then said, "Yeah, I'll go for a run with you. I'll do that race." And so, and then woke up the next morning and thought, I've paid to do a race, 10K race that goes around the back of my house that I could do for free at any point.
Oh God!
And I was like,
I didn't realise it
when I
was so
paid for
close to your
photos.
house.
Yeah, literally. It goes up the back of the house, across the cum, back down, up the quarry. Do it all the time with the dog. Not running, I have to say, because it's hideous.
You
And
paid to enter a race that's at the back of your house.
yeah, it was a bit ridiculous. But to be fair, it was for solidarity for my friend. So, and actually, and then my other mate came along. It was like the Three Musketeers back together. It was a good laugh, actually. And there is something, isn't there, about, I mean, you'll know this because you do loads of events, but there's something about being part of a
it's the community, isn't it? It's the
Yeah.
It's the community. Yeah, my eventing, so to speak, is a bit on the back foot this summer. I will do a couple of things, but I am running, as you know. I was running the other night.
Yeah, what happened?
Kind of leading into the topic of the conversation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Running and the old.
Yeah, Ruth's little WhatsApp message. I've just got up from my rock from having a little rest and I just weed.
I literally did. Honest to God. Well, look, it's a really, because look, we all know we've been in a heat wave, so we've been sweating, and I do this run. It's in Penaclodiai, and it starts from the car park and then all the way up to the top. I reckon it's about 3 or 4K to get to the top, something like that.
It's steep.
Yeah, it's not, but yeah, it's a good steep hill. So I jogged. So normally I do trail running is sort of jogging. It's walking. It's kind of like fast walking uphill.
Poles.
I didn't have the poles this time. I didn't have the poles. It was too hot. So I didn't have the poles, and my hip was okay. So, but this was the first time I've ever actually done a really slow jog. So it was just like really slow, jogging up the hill, jogging all the way, and sweating like I am now. But and literally I got to the top, and I was absolutely like cream crackered. And I didn't feel like I wanted to go to the toilet. And I sat down on these rocks and I was like, oh, I need to go to the pee all of a sudden. And then there was nothing I could do. And I thought, oh my God, am I doing? So I was just like, there was nothing I could do. And then I really wanted to go to the toilet. So then, you have the kind of like, oh, well, I might as well just have a little bit of a pee. Nobody's around and I'm sweating like a pig anyway. So nobody's going to know whether it's wee or not. And I always wear black. But then I had to go to the toilet. And then the funny thing is, where I run, it's the Roman ruins. So it's like not Roman ruins. It's the, there's like a hill fort. So it goes up, it goes down a little bit and up a little bit. So I was but you don't know who's coming. So it was one of those situations where it's just like,
and don't seem like a family.
I'm just gonna go. I've just got to go, or I'll be squelching going down the hill. So anyway, but why did that happen, Lizzie?
But when you did a wee then, did you do much of a wee? Was it a decent wee or was it a bit pathetic volume wise?
What, when the second wee or the first wee?
Well, both
It
really.
wasn't a lot because I hadn't really, I don't know, it wasn't like a
Yeah.
proper wee because my bladder didn't feel. The only time I ever need a real wee, like where my bladder's full, is probably in the morning. Maybe once during the day, maybe I don't, but I always check the colour. I do a lot of sport, as you
Mm.
know, so I'm always conscious of the colour of my wee. So I'm always looking at the toilet. I've always got my head down the loo, basically checking the. I'm always checking to see if I'm hydrated.
That's good though, isn't it? Well, probably. I mean, don't forget if you're active, and you are particularly active, you'll sweat quite a lot of that out, won't you? At
Yeah,
some
yeah,
point in
well,
the
you
day.
do. So I'm very conscious of hydration. It's just I don't know. It was really weird, but then I hadn't been taking my HRT because I ran out of progesterone. So I don't know whether that would have had such an impact so suddenly on my bladder. I mean, like
Um,
a week's time, sort of thing.
yeah, well, potentially.
You think
I
so?
would say more you were tired, sweating loads.
Yeah.
I think I'm interested in the fact that you don't often want a proper wee in the day. So I'm like, oh, I'd love to do a bladder chart on you to see how much, like, are you going too often in the day? Would you go lots in the day, or can you hang on forever type thing?
I don't know. I just don't.
Oh,
Maybe
get
I'm
you.
not conscious of it. I don't know. Maybe I
Yeah.
should. Why? How many times? I mean, this is interesting now. How many times should I be going in the day?
Well, no, if you're drinking plenty, probably you want to be going day like in a 24-hour period, should be about 6 to 8 times. So are
I
you
don't think I
going?
go 6 to 8 times.
All right, that's
I
interesting.
do sweat a lot.
Yeah. Ooh.
I'm sweating now. No, I mean I do because I'm
I know what you mean.
active, but I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know. And maybe I should. Do you think it's a good idea that we keep a record of our wees? Then is there a sign? Should
Do
you be?
appear like you don't want to obsess about it. It's such a pain in the ass. I do get a lot of my patients to do it, a bladder chart. So you measure
Yeah,
you so here we are, runners. If you think am I dehydrated or am I going too often or not often enough, you should if you're a non-exercising person, lady now, you're going to want to drink somewhere between 1.5 and 2 litres a day. Depends, doesn't it? Whether you're fat, short,
yeah,
thin, tall, whatever. So you look at dogs joining in. You look at the colour of your wee, so it should be champagne coloured. And ideally, roughly, I mean, everyone's going to be a bit different, somewhere between 6 and 8 wees a day. So if you do a
yeah,
bladder chart, um, and you measure exactly what's going in. So easiest thing to do is pre-measure your glass or your whatever, or you've got a litre jug or whatever it is in the fridge. Drink that so you know exactly what you're drinking. And when you
yeah,
pee, get cheap plastic measuring jug, put it down the loo, pee in it. Don't hover, sit on the toilet, wee into your jug, measure that off in mils, and put that. You do it on a timeline. So every time you have a drink, they say 9 o'clock. I make myself a timeline from 5 in the morning to 4 in the morning, kind of thing. So every
yeah.
time you have a drink, you write it down. Every time you have a wee, you write it down. And then you can put a little chart then of how urgent it was. So naught would be it's not urgent at all. One would be, yeah, I needed a wee and went within about 10 minutes. Two was like your job the other day, stop what you're doing, otherwise I'm going
I've
to
got
lose
to go
myself. I've got
now,
to
kind
go
of thing.
now. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's like a rough sort of thing. And then if you leaked at all or needed a pad change, you can plot those with times as well. So as a physio, what I would look at is, or a continence advisor if I was, how much am I drinking enough? And then what are my intervals? How long is my bladder happy to hold for? When I go for a wee, how much is in my bladder? And also you're looking at, are you emptying roughly? You're not going to ever empty the same amount that you take in, especially if you're sweating or if you're weeing
Yeah.
everywhere. But you're looking at that input output, and you need to do maybe like 3 days in a row. It's a bit, to be fair, it took me a while to get my head around as a physio, so you need to kind of go through it with somebody that knows something about that. But you can at least kind of go, oh, well, actually, crikey, if you're going 11, 12 times a day and you've only getting an hour between your wees, that's too much. There's something
That's
wrong
too
there.
much. That's
You
too.
might be overhydrating if you're doing massive wees every hour, 400 mils every
No,
hour,
right.
you're
Okay.
going berserk. If you're doing stupid little 50, 100 ml wees every hour, then you're going too often kind of thing. So it is worth it's
It's worth.
pricey,
It's
but it's
really
worth
worth
doing
it
it.
because
Yeah.
I know tonight we're going to be focusing on the challenge that women have when they're doing exercise because
Yeah.
we both this summer we've both, just so that listeners, we this summer we've Lizzie obviously taking up running, and then my running we've been doing I've been talking to a lot of women in running clubs about this.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was really blown away by the number, and I will get them on actually in the next episode, some of the ladies from the running club, because these are seasoned runners. And when I spoke to them told them about the podcast and kind of said, we're doing this, we're doing, have you ever suffered from this? I was blown away by the number of women that were like, oh my God.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really common, is just, this must be just a huge, so for runners, Lizzie, in particular runners and people who are women who are active, and also women who aren't active because this stops because of their, I mean, we don't care anymore that we talk quite openly about peeing our pants, but for a lot of women, as we know, this is why we have this podcast. They are too embarrassed about this. They'd be mortified about peeing in the pants when they run, but we're not. So what can we do apart from, that information you've just given is brilliant about the wind, but what can a woman do if she wants to get back into sport and and running particularly, and she's what's your advice?
I suppose if they're leaking already and you want to get back into sport or running, honestly now my advice would be to go and see a pelvic health physio.
Right.
Because there's something going wrong somewhere, isn't it? There's lots of different reasons why the neck of your bladder isn't support, or you're leaking urine is the easiest thing to say. So it's kind of where's the week? You need a pelvic physio that's going to do an internal examination.
And just on that, Lizzie, so our listeners, we're in Wales, we're reaching women across the UK. A woman in England and in Scotland, she can access pelvic floor physios. It's the same process. Go to your GP.
It should be absolutely. It might be slightly different in terms of who funds it, but in terms of access, you should be able to go to your GP. In fact, some NHS services, you've got a self-referral, so you might
right. Okay, so you just go straight.
Your local, so like here, you'll often have like a main, like we've got Bangor Hospital, haven't we, as our main physio or our main hospital, and you've got different branches out. So contact your main acute hospital for your area, not a little community one, and see, because often the referrals go there. If you're not sure, well, ask your GP, contact see whether they'll accept a pelvic health referral. But if not, health professional, so midwife, health visitor, GP, obviously consultant, you might be able to self-refer. Get to pelvic health physio, because what you need to do is like get somebody to look at your breath work, maybe look at your running posture, look at your hip. Is your pelvic floor having to work too hard because you've got a dicky hip on one side? There's so many different factors to it. So it is worth it, definitely. Because what you don't want to be doing, I suppose, we're all limited, aren't we, in time. You want someone to kind of really help narrow down. So, for example, I've had a fell runner in, he's got a cracking pelvic floor, absolutely. So, I thought, oh, and when I did a vaginal assessment, I was like, oh, like absolutely brilliant, full endurance, just amazing. But it was to do with more. It was just to do with other stuff, really. So maybe
I never thought, because I've got a dodgy hip.
Yeah.
From, like slightly off. Well, from a younger age, but during the my menopause transition during these recent years, it's obviously I have to do a lot more work to keep that at bay. But there's an aggravation there. And so now I'm doing a lot more alignment work with this running coach. So rather than just do weight training at the moment, I'm doing that to get my hip alignment a little bit. But I mean, it will never be perfect. It's always going to be 90%. But I wonder if that would help. That actually helps. So there's rehabilitation. So basically, because I think what we do with our sports or with our fitness, we tend to go all in, don't we? We don't think about corrective things before we go all in, and then we give up if we give up.
Yeah, you've got to start at the basics, haven't you?
We've got to start with the basics. We've got to see where we are physically and wow, that's really interesting.
It's like trying to make a loaf of bread with a really crappy dough, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You've got to get your mixture right.
I like that.
Do you like it? Do you like my little bacon?
I like that.
Or I know. I used to work with this amazing video called Gary Evans, a little mention. I was laughing at her explanation about well, imagine that you're making a cake and you're making a Victoria sponge. And you put the same ingredients into your pot. So imagine your Victoria sponge as you going for a run and weeing, right? And you're doing the same strength work, okay? And you're putting the same ingredients in for you, you know, what sponge are you going to get out? And I could hear this patient going, a Victoria sponge. Right, yeah, okay. So then you decide you want a chocolate sponge, which would be maybe like running without having a wee. So, but you put the same ingredients back in. What are you going to get out? You're going to get your chocolate sponge.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And I was laughing because I thought, actually, it's such a great analogy. If you want a different outcome, you've got to put different stuff in, kind of thing. So you have got to strip it back. I don't know why I went on to that, but think about
No,
you.
but it's really is, because the thing is, we kind of think, and especially as we get older, when we get more aches and pains, and I have this because I coach women, you know, we might get knee pains or this pain or that pain, and we never go back to the basics of what our bodies do. We never strip it back. We kind of do the same. We go balls to the walls. We think, right, I'm going to go out, I'm going to do couch to 5 kilos, which is great, which is a brilliant program, love it, all of that. But we kind of think 3 weeks in and we do, something happens, and then we go, I'm not doing it now. And then 3 months later you go, oh, I'll have another go. And then the same outcome. But what you're saying is there are other, if what you're saying is that if
you're not
it's
getting
an
the
issue,
outcome
we've
that
got to
you
strip
want,
it back,
yeah,
haven't we?
you got to, yeah, you can. So let's say you've been doing the same strength work for years, and your hip's the same, and you're like, why is it the same? I'm not getting any better doing this. Or it might just be because you need to change your ingredients to get the different outcome. And
Yeah,
the one thing to say about the couch 5K is I flipping love it, but it's a very generalized thing, which is great.
yeah.
Such a great guidance. So it's not for someone that's post rehab. It's not for someone that's post baby. It doesn't work like that, especially not post baby. So if you're trying to return to running postnatally, it gives you that skeleton framework, but there's so many variables. So so that's why seeing, you know, a decent physical therapist or physiotherapist, we say in the UK, is sort of ideal. Think about you before I forget, and I know we could say this afterwards, but everyone will benefit. You know, doing some sustained external rotation of your hip. So having a TheraBand around your thighs, and just, I do quite a lot of if these are my thighs, I've got a TheraBand, that resistance training band. If you're sat up and you sort of take your knees hip width apart, so you're driving
Oh yeah,
out
like the
against the band.
crab.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
holding it. So holding it there, and sometimes I'll do like pelvic tilts and holding, just to get
yeah.
some sustained stability around those little hip rotators, because your tiny weeny little hip rotators, one of them I can feel vaginally. That's how closely related they are to the pelvic floor. So if
Oh
I've
my
got,
God, I
yeah,
never
so if
knew that.
that's your vagina, I'm putting a finger in, and I just go up and to the one side. This is on both sides, obviously, if you've got two hips. If I then resist some hip movements, that muscle will pop up under my finger. It still blows my mind now. So that's, and if you think
Oh,
about,
so oh my God, that's so interesting.
yeah, yeah,
Because, sorry, listeners, we're going to get quite detailed there, but I wonder, because I'd had that, and I had a hip issue for when I was younger, but then it got worse post baby after that internal examination, and then
oh, there you
and
go.
then
Yeah.
it
Mm.
flared up. So do you think we won't? I mean, we don't have to go into, but do you think so? If a woman has had, if a mum's had a particular traumatic, so like a traumatic birth or something, a traumatic birth, and or whatever, and she doesn't do the work on that hip. What's the muscle that you're referring to? What's it called?
The one that you feel from the inside is something
Yeah.
called obturator internus.
So if that's being damaged and she doesn't do that work, then that's what you're effectively saying, is that can then have why that's one of the things that has the wider implications.
Yeah,
Like,
I think it's just really important that everything is so connected. And the other thing you can strip
yeah.
it back to, and again, I won't bore everyone to death with this, but you can strip it back to breathing. Breath, if you aren't, I could do, do you know what, we could do a we'll do a little whole podcast on breathing and the point of breathing. But so, um, so yeah, so we're sort of saying, I can't remember, where did we start? We were going, what can you
You
do
were
to
doing
help
the
yourself?
internal examination and you could feel
Yeah.
that muscle, the muscle in the
But then we were kind of saying, so we were saying fatigue is a thing. So for me, so I did that 10K race at the weekend.
yeah.
I say race. I did my own little race. I wanted to survive it. So for me, fatigue was a problem because I'd booked myself a PT session for 2 days before it, which is a really, I thought, how hard can this be? Absolutely shredded my legs in the gym. Loved every minute of it, almost
Yeah.
the process, and thought, oh, I'll recover from this quickly. No, I was already in quite a lot of pain before I started the race. So don't do that. That's a really poor physio choice. But so for me, I was already fatigued before I started. And so I knew, I was like, right, I'm gonna have to trot this to get past it. And it was a
Yeah.
really hot day, and I'd taken like electrolyte. I was thinking, I don't normally do gels because I tend to find they play a bit of havoc with my bowels, but I was like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna took a gel before I started even, and like an electrolyte tablet. Took loads of water on board and off a trot kind of thing. And what I found was I was obviously so I was tired to begin with, very, very sweating like a lunatic. Um, and then when I started to feel the urge to go for a wee, I thought, oh, I think I need a wee. Thinking, how can I possibly need a wee? I've sweat every ounce of fluid out. And I thought, I'm just going
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
ignore
Yeah.
it.
Which is what, yeah.
This is my bladder, it's got a strong wee in it, because if you've got concentrated urine, it's like an irritant to the bladder. I thought, no, this is a combination of concentrated wee, so I can ignore that. I know there's not much wee in my bladder. But it was as I started to run really fast downhill, just to clarify, because that's the only bit that I could run, the flats and the downhill.
Yeah.
And I thought, right, I can make up a bit of time here. So I was pegging it downhill as fast as I could. Zero control because my legs were like jelly. So I was like, if I try and control my pace, it's going to get 11 billion times harder, isn't it? So I was just flying downhill. So because I wasn't particularly controlling myself going downhill, you sort of downhill is more impact anyway because you're doing a heel strike because your
Yeah.
foot's so you're accelerating downhill, your foot hits the floor, your heel hits the floor. So it's a massive deceleration force. So you're kind of going speed up, slow down. So every step is massive impact. My posture had changed. So I was like a bit more arched because you're kind of trying to lean back
Yeah.
a little bit, aren't you? So I had to make myself try and lean forward. So if you lean backwards when you're running downhill, your tummy muscles get longer, which is okay if they're strong enough to kind of hold that position. Whereas mine aren't. I don't actually own any abs. So if you lean forward, often the bottom of your back arches, isn't it? And it just you're letting go of that sort of abdominal control. So that means your pelvic floor's got to work a bit harder. And then, so I was dehydrated, knackered, higher impact going downhill, more like, running faster going downhill. So all of a sudden, like my cadence, the speed of my steps was going berserk. So by the time I got to the bottom of this hill, I was like, oh, I am about to wee everywhere. What am I going to do about this? So luckily, because I knew the route, I was like, hang on for a couple of minutes, because I knew that I was going up past the hotel, and I was like, there's a wee bush there. So I had to drop out the race, have a quick wee, and it was a really pathetic wee, but boy did I need it. So I think it was what I'd call it was a bit of urgency.
Yeah.
I think I had a lot of dehydrated, well, not a lot, a small amount of dehydrated urine in there, but which the bladder wasn't massively happy about. And then it was that impact. I was running harder,
The
faster, going
impact.
downhill, yeah, and let my posture go, kind of thing. So I was it was desperate. It was really funny. But that's the first time I've ever needed to do that running.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because when you follow coaches, when you listen to some coaches and especially on social media, and I follow a couple of brilliant ones actually. I put the link. His name's Lawrence. I can't remember his surname actually now, but he's a South African running coach, and he's really, really, really into the posture and the movement and the hip alignment and everything. And he works with some professional triathletes, and he has this rope thing, so he really gets you kind of like arm up straight, rotating the hips, so you're reaching up, so you've got that move, before you even start running, he wants you to actually really focus on your hip movement and your core balance and everything before you, and pulling your feet, and he's absolutely brilliant. So I do that now with some clients. We do the walking, like just to push up, and it's interesting. It has really helped just doing that little walking has helped my my running, like immense, huge, apart from the other day, but I think that was a mixture of the 30 degrees heat.
Oh yeah. But on that note, I've got a few postural things that I get my patients to look at. So if you're
that's what's going to help you. Some top tips for our ladies.
Yeah, so think about and if you've got a running coach, work with your running coach on this. Think about sort of a more especially if you're an amateur runner, like, because I can totally see where I used to go wrong. You want a mid-foot strike, don't you? Mid to forefoot strike, whatever works for your sport. If you're heel striking, you're like, it's massive, it's huge impact. The other thing is, you're heel striking, it means your foot is falling and making contact with the floor in front of your body. So your body has got to come all the way forward over your foot. So if you think your whole of your lower leg, right, is taking the impact, isn't it? So you want, and the big weight of us is in the pelvis. That's the center of gravity. So when you're landing, you want your pelvis over your foot, right? Because that's where the force translation is going to be. So if you're reaching out like a lunatic and heel striking, that is one potential way that you're gonna massively increase your impact.
Right,
So
okay,
land on the
interesting.
mid. So if you have maybe a
Shorter.
faster, either a shorter stride or a faster cadence, you're gonna, and if you're landing with your forefoot or your midfoot, as it were, then naturally as you land, your pelvis is over your foot, massive reduction in impact. Then you think about having a slight forward lean. So not
Yeah.
you're not like running like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, but if you've just got a slight lean forwards, and that's different to tipping your pelvis forward, the slight whole body lean, just a slight one,
Yeah.
then your bladder is not sitting on the back of your pelvic floor, it's coming forwards because that's how we're meant to be. So actually it takes a bit of support off the pelvis, off the pubic bone. So you think of this pubic bone as been like this little, everyone points at the fanny basically and goes, because that's where often a lot of people get pain with either adductor injuries or pregnancy, and it's a real pinpoint sort of pain if you get pubic symphysis pain. But actually the pubic bone is quite a big flat bone. So if you're
Yeah.
slightly tipped forward, your bladder can lean on that a little bit. So it takes a little bit of the load, and that's a lovely
Okay.
steady.
Yeah.
So rather than, so for me, definitely, because if you look at me, my husband laughs at me. He said, if you look at yourself from behind, Lizzie, you're like a straight line. Basically, what it means, I've got no arse, no calves, and no hamstrings. It's just like that. And I was like, it's because I'm thick-skinned, right? But so for me, what I've done is shorten my stride a little bit, which has stopped me getting shin splints. It's stopped me having sort of some leaks. I've got a slight forward tilt. I'm doing much more midfoot landing, which actually is, yeah, I've got more spring in my strides. I land over my foot, so it's less impact. And now what I need to do, if I want to get faster, because I've got hugely long legs, my natural tendency would be to reach out with my, so what I need to do is switch my backside and my hamstrings on. I've got to get that length in your stride, you've got to push from behind. So if you push from behind, you're still then landing on your midfoot. So you've got a greater distance in your stride, but you're still, everything's landing in a light. You definitely want your
Right. Okay.
because I'm not a massive runner,
No,
but
I
I'm sort
know,
of
but
thinking
this is
that's
really,
bits
but
that I've picked up. Does that make sense?
yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. And I think this information I think is really valuable because, and especially for women returning to running who, like 99.9% of the population of women probably run without having the luxury of having coaches. I mean, I know there's more of information available, but this information is, it can at least lead us into it's leading us into a way, like you say, corrective, without us thinking, oh my god, this is just me, I'm just going to end, I've had X, Y, and Z, I'm going to give up. Because it gives, thinking about things a little bit.
Little tweaks.
Little tweaks. You know what, Lizzie, I reckon in the next episode, because we're going to be covering this off this month, aren't we? Because everybody's out and being active this summer.
Yeah.
Is let's get some runners in so we can have a discussion. Let's see if we can get some runners on the podcast. Not we're all runners, but some club runners. I've got a couple of girls that want to come on. And we have a general discussion. It'd be great, to get a young mum returning to running, lady who's a bit older, take us, and we'll just have a general discussion around what you've just spoken about then, because I think it's, really invaluable because we can return. Basically, we can return to exercise. We don't have to give up. We can return to running.
Yeah. Just got to do it in the right way, haven't you?
We've just got to do it in the right way. Right, I'm sweating.
Yeah, I'm really hot, actually.
I'm really, really hot. So
Thanks.
Anything else for our listeners? Because we're going to wrap up now. We're going to follow this up with a part 2 with some ladies from the running club. Anything else for our listeners, Lizzie?
Well, we always do a little funny story, so I thought I'd share
Go on then.
mine. So I used to do loads of climbing. I think was this when I was pregnant? Might have been a pregnant wee actually. And I remember going climbing on the Great Orme. So it was like really steep limestone, and I was like, oh, I can't be arsed with this. It's too steep for Lizzie. I'm too fat. I'm too pregnant. It's fine. And but I came to like watch. I just needed to get out of the house. I'm desperate for a wee. And there's loads of cars parked. Have you been to the Great Orme?
Yeah.
You know the road that goes round there. So it's
Yeah,
like
round
there's
yeah.
like this big, I don't know, big hillock thing, and it's got limestone sort of crags, if you like, climbing areas around it. It's got a road that goes around the bottom. It's beautiful. And it's a one-way road, isn't it? Yeah, you can only go around one way. So I squat between these cars to have a wee, thinking, yeah, no bother, squat between the cars. Who's going to see? I know, so I'm having a wee, and then this cyclist goes past, and I'm like that, hi, and he's like, hello.
Hi.
And I was like laughing, thinking, oh, I'm never going to see him again. Oh, he was doing laps of the Great Orme.
Oh no,
By the time
I've
I
done
pulled
the
my drawers
laps,
in,
and
I was
you were
like,
like, hi.
sat with a cup of tea on the wall. Yeah, I was like that. Hello again. Yeah. He was like that. Hi.
Hi,
I was
hi.
singing about another.
Probably
Oh
had to
God.
pee everywhere.
Yeah. But, well, knowing now what I know, he's probably, yeah, I was about to say.
He's probably peed all over. He's probably peed all over Wales. That cyclist.
Yeah,
Right then. So,
yeah.
I hope you've all found this useful. If you have any questions or topics that you'd like to get covered, then send us an email to oopsipedmypantspodcast@gmail.com. Ladies, let's reframe the narrative around incontinence and pelvic health together. All the details in the show notes are below. I'm going to make sure that those top tips that you've just given, Lizzie, we put them into like a little PDF download, because I think they're fantastic for runners.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And let's break the silence, one laugh and leak at a time.
Yeah, let's get out and get active this summer.
Get out and get active and sweat some more.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Bye.